This week's episode was brought to you by Schrodinger's cat food. Honey, did we feed the cat this morning or not? I don't know, honey. Do we even have a cat? I think we do, sweetheart. And that's why I'm not sure if we fed it or not. Now with Schrodinger's cat food, you can rest assured that your cat is both fed and not fed, at least until you get home. Schrodinger's cat food. It's perfect food for cats, probably. On this week's episode, we're joined by the Wheel of Time to discuss some elementary magic for beginners and tips for the Witchtok Zeitgeist we currently find ourselves in. In the extended episode, we talk shop about the fractional reserve banking system, the gold standard, and cryptocurrency. If you'd like to hear the second half of the discussion and help support the show making new content every week, please visit www.patreon.com/thewholerabbit, where $5 gets you all that content, bonus stickers, and access to our Discord server, where nerds rejoice. Otherwise, please make sure to like, subscribe, share, and enjoy the show.
Like prepackaged steaks and strips and shit, or would he let him live so he could have only the freshest cuts and just like amputate a little bit at a time?
10 out of 10 freshest cuts. Let him live.
Yeah, that's some good thing. He probably cooked
Also to instill as much fear as possible, as if basting a turkey.
He makes them put on lotion even though he doesn't use the skin.
Interesting.
Wait, basting a turkey. What's the baster full of? I think you should give them a baster full of gin and then beat them.
That's amazing.
So they don't remember it hurting, they just remember the impact.
The question is what kind of gin?
I don't know.
Only the freshest cuts. Luke, sorry for tardy. Annette called and wanted to see the awning outside. Apparently the harbor's been calling and saying it's a monstrosity.
Excuse me? That means it's just the right size.
The harbor?
Yeah, we work at the harbor. It's where a bunch of strange birds make their nest and make strange cawing noises that sound like a small child being slapped repeatedly with a turning wheel.
That is aggressively accurate and weird, but accurate.
Like, they make the strange, like...
That is accurate.
I thought it was more of a shrill thing. Oh, I'm Ari.
Hello, Rona.
I apologize for being tardy. The fault is mine.
Oh, well, you gave me an extra break, so I don't care.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Whole Rabbit, where we don't just grill pads of bloody meat flesh in our backyards for our evening satiety. Nay, we make our satisfaction off the great green teat from the milk tree in the cinnamon leche forest, because this week we're interviewing the Wheel of Time from Sleepy Forest Academy of Magic.
Bono, my name is Rona. I am the Wheel of Time on Instagram and the Witch on your favorite academic for learnings of the Magic's Sleepy Forest Academy. Hello.
To discuss magic for bunnies and just the general obstacles of life that keep things, how do we say, fresher than the Sunday fish market. It stinks. This week, I'm joined by Mari-sama, the hula queen of hibiscus hellhounds.
Woo!
Darth Dingus, the dripping and dank.
That's the best one so far.
Absolutely solid.
And Malachor, the mute.
Yeah!
We just put little hooks in his hands and make him dance for us. But you can't see it, because it's a podcast.
We eat him a little bit at a time.
Yeah, like a shawarma.
Like
a shawarma.
Like
I can see it.
Hey, if you're eating your shawarma a little bit at a time, you're doing it the wrong fucking way. That shit gets all soggy with the pickle juice.
Well, no, you cut the shawarma off a little bit at a time. You eat it like a ravenous dog.
It's a big meat log that rotates on a stick in front of a heater in a Euro shop.
Oh, well, that's not the one that I was talking about. Shut the fuck up.
Okay.
I thought you were talking about the one in my pocket.
What?
Oh.
Hey, Luke.
Is that one that you also shave off and consume like a ravenous dog? I'm not sure where that one.
Somebody does.
Hey, Luke.
Yes.
Do you remember when I opened the door for you at Racetrack?
No.
Yeah.
When did that happen?
That was the thing that I wanted you to play along with.
I remember when you opened the door for me at Racetrack.
Why didn't you have sex with me?
What? What?
What? Yeah, I got nothing for that one too. So
that's not a good joke,
we'll just,
dude.
Everyone else laughed.
Well, see, look, the game's rigged, man. Nobody was gonna laugh.
Let's talk a little bit about that. Why does it feel so often that life is rigged against us? Why?
Specifically because I feel like human nature is, you got to struggle for getting places. If things were just calm and fine and dandy, nobody would move. What is that? Comfort breeds weakness?
Yeah, the hard times breed good men, good times breed weak men, and the cycle continues, right?
Yeah, yeah. But I mean, also, there are people that are fully aware of that and use that specifically against us. I mean, at least America standard wise, you got to think we're consumerist, right? So, how do you keep people consuming and making money? You have to keep them, what is that? Depressed and desperate, I think it would be.
Or it's the concept of scarcity. Scarcity economics is what drives the stock market to go up all the time, and the cycles of buying and even inflation, like monetary inflation has a place in that, I think.
Well, monetization, explain.
Oh, monetary inflation, just the way that our system works, it's purposely built that way. Our monetary system is built that way to drive the markets to be positive more often than negative.
Well,
Because
yeah.
people don't like to see recessions or the value go down.
Well, hold on. If we replace what is that? Economy. And I like this is going to be my version of a drinking game, right? Every time we say economy, replace it with rich people's yacht money. I'm serious. And that's for this entire episode. If you bring up economy, you have to say rich people's yacht money because that's all it is. We've been placed on a planet, and the reason I like calling my school Sleepy Forest Academy is because we were raised on a planet of people and things that can be continuously renewed. Why are we using a system that is literally driving to destroy itself, where we axe one person, what is it, 12 people every couple seconds? I mean, we're so self-absorbed and asleep and unawakened that we have a clock that literally says when the economy is going to crash, and that clock hasn't stopped ticking down. We're aware that there's a problem and nobody's doing anything about it. So that's what I like doing, or at least trying to do, in Sleepy Forest, and that's why basics of magic has taken such a long time to come out. It's like, where do you start awakening people who are aware of the problems that happen, but what is it, bystander syndrome? They just think that someone else is going to fix it.
No, it takes every person, I think.
Which tackle the tea leaves.
What?
Assault them and then read their tea leaves.
No, there's more to it than that. There's a lot more to it than that. And that's what I'm trying to actually fix. I'm trying to get people out of the mindset that, witches and spiritualists will assault you and read your tea leaves, maybe tell you something about yourself that you didn't know. But they're also really wise and cunning and knowledge-worthy people. Like I always see on Instagram these people posting, we are the daughters, or we are the witches of the ones you didn't burn. And it's like, yeah, and they're weeping. Like, you're posting on it, like, what if I don't want to say, what have you done today? Like, I don't want to go so rage as to say, like, what have you done today? But the lack of basic knowledge of the history or of what they actually died for. Like, women died because they just knew things. That's it. They just had knowledge. Maybe they were learned in knowing that the mold from a tree branch, it has penicillin and it'll make you feel better. And then they're like, nope, can't have that. You got to pray to Jesus for healing. You get the steak. They were just burning all of these knowledgeable people for no reason other than they had knowledge. So I want to re-push that pendulum to the other side quite radically, in a way that is like, yeah, we have knowledge. We know that there are things that we can do. We don't have to keep burning fossil fuels, which are obviously going to, run out unless we start using grandma to fuel our cars. But that's another conversation. Please tell me I've had that conversation with you.
No, but I've always been a bit of a supporter myself. Why not turn people into oil?
Exactly. I mean, people have been dying since the dawn of time. If we can just get past the moral compass of maybe digging up a few graveyards, we'd have more gas. But of course, that's me supporting the wrong side. But of course, you can see that from, if you can see that, if you have that idea, or if I have that idea, they have that idea. And it's only a matter of time, right?
Let's
I mean,
say-
they don't want to lose.
So you're saying we could use this COVID situation to bring fuel prices down?
Jesus.
No. And I have no idea how on earth we got there, but I'm not going to say that at the start of this entire thing that gas prices weren't lower.
Soylent Green is people.
Oh my God.
Soylent
you're gonna say
gasoline is
something.
people.
That's exactly what I was going to say. Thank you, Dingus.
Oh, I thought you said it already.
That's literally what I said. Thank you.
You have
hold on.
Ear.
But hold on, like, so if we can get people to be awoken to like, and that's the end of it. Like, you know, my day job is working at an escape room. So, you know, working at an escape room, you end up realizing that you have a pretty good idea of how smart people are, at least in your general vicinity.
Or even if they are smart, how generally sort of dumb they are too.
And yeah, and everyone,
Magic
and it's not, well, hold on, because there's more to it. Yeah, there's a smart dumb, there's a dumb smart, but like what everybody, at least we want, like the whole point I want to say about parenting or even raising somebody to be a good human being is just common sense, or like using cognitive thinking, trying more than one option rather than seeing one option, thinking it's the best option, and then if it doesn't work, quitting. Or, you know, at the place of work here, we give unlimited hints. So more times than not, instead of, and it could be a very simple puzzle, we'll get children who can figure it out. Or what would you say? How many, like, is it adults? Would you think adults get out more often or kids?
Well, since you told me, I'm gonna say kids now.
They try more things. They try shit until it eventually works.
Exactly. And that's all that is the creative side of the mind, which the companies and bigwigs and fat cats and all that other, they want to sell back to us. And I see that getting into the witchy community, spiritual community, all that. It's like we will take the ideas from the originals, package them, sell them back to you so that you create what, like a personal bubble of things that you believe are yourself, but are really things that we have given you.
Now hold on a minute. Are you saying that being a witch has more to do than just your aesthetic and posting selfies on Instagram and Twitter?
What?
Yes. And yes, obviously. I mean, it's become a type of thing where, and this, God, this is going to catch so much hate, obviously, but even now gatekeepers are getting hate. And that's the big thing that people are rampaging about on Twitter and Instagram right now. It's like, ooh, boo, gatekeepers. And it's like, well, no, they exist to make sure that you know the things that you need to know to be the thing that you are, so that you don't go out there spreading misinformation, because that's the end goal. What they get in, they spread misinformation, and then that's the end of your culture.
You know, this is actually something I could think about a lot. I feel like, in a way, though, the people who aren't necessarily interested in studying witchcraft, just like talking about it on the internet, they're gatekeepers in their own right, because anybody who wants good information is going to have to get past all the bullshit to get there.
Yeah, and it takes a lot of work.
Yeah, it took me a couple of years.
Does.
A lot of people get lost in the bullshit too, which is really unfortunate.
Plastic shaman.
So wouldn't you have somebody like who actually knows, or somebody who at least has the ability to, I don't want to say guide, because, you know, the big quote right now is nobody can teach you how to use your magic, which, yes, we all agree that nobody can teach you how to be you, but that doesn't mean that you can ignore process. We have people reading tarot off of intuition. And yeah, there is a bit of intuition, but the tarot is a structured thing, you asshole. It means...
Yeah, you're exactly right in that you have to use both faculties of your brain to use this.
Exactly.
It's both emotion and intuition combined with logic and deductive reasoning, like critical thinking.
Exactly.
Right?
And
it's a science and an art combined, and that's why I'm attracted to it. And I think it really can help us change the world if regular everyday people understand that you can use this and we can make things better. But I also think that if all of us are doing it together, and even in our own ways, and we're doing it positively, it can really it can affect the world.
I want to discuss tarot
Yes.
for a specific moment, and you might have to explain it to me like I'm 5, but is the general thing, the popular conversation right now, that if you got some guy who's trying to tell you under structure of the tarot and that this card is related to this letter and this planet's related to this color, that person's a gatekeeper, and that you really should just make it up as you go along and only follow your intuition? Is that kind of what the discussion is like right now?
Yes, it is inclusion on a massive scale. And that's not saying that inclusion is wrong, but it's inclusion in a way that is going to kill what it is.
Yeah, because I teach tarot as a like very structured, specific set of stuff that's derived from the Golden Dawn system. So in this conversation, basically, I'd be considered a gatekeeper then.
Well, let me just
The way I would
allow me to let me just posit something that might be looking on the bright side. What if this is just the new age and it all goes away in 6 years?
Yeah, it might be a fad.
It most definitely could be a fad.
Let's hope.
What
so.
was it last? What was it last? What was it the fad before this one? What was TikTok hexing or cursing? Was it blind people?
Deaf people, I think,
I think it was deaf people. And before that, what was it? They put a hex on the moon.
and fairies.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh, nice.
Does that sound like the type of publicity you want for witches? I mean, it's funny, and it's it gets who would say Lord Henry Wotton from the Portrait of Dorian Gray and hedonism would say, the thing worse than being talked about is not being talked about. So people are talking and people know that they exist, but it's not really for a good reason.
I don't think
And
I
I seek to change that.
even agree with that quote.
Why not?
Shit. I wasn't thinking I'd have to explain
Well,
it.
all these people, these people that misinterpret or spout misinformation because they intuit it or whatever. I mean, that noise is going to exist no matter what you do to try to control it. And honestly, a lot of times if you try to stamp it out, it gets stronger.
Mm-hmm.
That's the problem. And I look at it like this: is like it's your first task. It's like when the fool falls off the cliff. The fall
Yes.
is its first task. It's like you fall into all this stuff around you, and you don't know up from down, and you're disoriented, and you don't know which is truthful or not. So you start to explore, but like you said, a lot of people get lost and they never make it to the bottom of the mountain and become a magician.
Yeah, and you just have to be aware of all the tools at your disposal, because we're
They're
not
just
saying that
tools. They're not end all.
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. We're not saying your intuition isn't part of the process, like you said earlier, but you apply that intuition with the structure and the knowledge that has been what created them in the first place.
Yeah, like I like some cringe stuff. Like I like astrology and crystal stuff, and but I'm not Mari the Crystal Witch.
Maury the crystal.
I'm not all about that. Those are elements that I use in my practice, and I use them sparingly. I don't do it all the time. I do it for ritual purposes.
And if you're going to say, exactly, and if you are going to go online and say that you're a crystal witch, you better fucking be able to name what amethyst can do, or at least give me 3. Give me, like, the rule of 3 should be set for, if you want to be a witch, you got to know at least 3. That's it. It won't even be hard. If you say you're a crystal witch, or if I say I'm a time witch, I will be able to spout 3 things about time and how it applies to magic and blah, blah, blah.
It has a past, present, and a future.
You would be like
exactly
the second closest thing somebody knows to a geologist.
Yeah, exactly. I would be like a magical geologist, and then Rona would be like a magical astrophysicist or like theoretical time physicist.
I fucking love the planets. I love learning how people age and how they go through change and time, and I love applying, I'm a Capricornian, so I love growing things and watching time affect. I got old friends, I got new friends, I got young friends. It's a span across time, and that's why I say I'm a time witch. And so I embody that.
But the cool thing about the way that you do that, I vibe that way too, but you get to see time cycles and patterns that other people don't necessarily take notice of, because you do have that wider range. Like, how we were just saying something, oh, that's just going to be a fad. It's like, it's because we've paid attention to all of these these social signals for so long, and we have old friends, we have young friends, we have new, so we have this way of looking at things where, like, oh, well, I can kind of see the crests and the troughs in these patterns, but like real magic and tarot and like the ancient Mayan calendars and stuff, those are cycles that are like thousands of years old that it took a lot of people to chart that stuff. So you better pay attention. Like that structure is real.
That's something I've heard spoken elsewhere that, oh, well, I guess all those women didn't need to die and get burnt at the stake for writing down the associations of all those plants and when the best time to use them was and the cycle of the moon.
Yes.
We can all just make it up now. Like,
Yeah, and that's what old science was, right? Pretty much.
yeah, science and the occult used to get along really well back when they were against the church, but now in the modern way of looking at things, it's like they're separate again. It's almost like religion and the occult are a little closer together, and like people think of science as totally separate. But if you're being a real magician, so much of it has to do with writing down what you do, having a hypothesis, and then figuring out if you're way off or not. And then once you do write it down, you would be able to share your experiences with others and see if it makes any sense to them. It's like peer review.
Yeah.
If you have enough experiences and you do it right, you can sell it for $20 on Amazon.
Oh my
To
God.
about 100 people.
Or, oh my goodness.
Or give it for
Or
free.
alternatively, you could have a hypothesis like, who is that? My favorite book, Robert Anton Wilson, and it's going to be part of, the basics of magic when I teach that class. He tells you that, he picks your brain apart. He gives you a way to know how your brain works so that you can tell if your brain is thinking your thoughts or your brain is thinking the thoughts put in there by Freud and his brother, Bernays. Look it up. So you take that apart and you start realizing, wow, there's a lot of shit that isn't me. And so if you need a roadmap for that, there's your astrological chart. If you're, what was that? One of these chapels had religion and science and the occult all working together, and logic, all four pillars working together to try and reach that singular goal, which is spiritualists, scientists, everyone has, sorry if I leave anybody out, should have the same goal, the same human goal of whatever that goal is. But we all have to agree and give ourselves a direction in general.
I will only settle for digging a hole in the ground, lining it with concrete, and then laying down on a pile of finely cut gems.
Okay, but imagine if everybody agreed and did that for you.
That would be kind of cool.
Wait, what? Got him.
That'd be cool, I guess.
No, yeah, that's like, what if everyone agreed and just did that for you? It's like, yeah, that seems like a good idea. Okay. You're not a bad person.
Like you were talking about earlier, like pressing people into oil. Like that sounds creepy if they just forcibly did it to you. But like, what if we had a choice when we died? Like, there's different ways that you could be buried. Like, I would like personally I would like to be launched into the sun. So, there's other stuff like you could be buried under a tree in a park and have it dedicated to you. Or you could
Hold on, we're not just going to bypass getting launched into the sun like you didn't say it. So would they store your body until science came up with a way to launch people into the sun?
Well, I would just you'd have to develop a rocket for that, but it's probably pretty easy.
Bullshit. All I need is 4 horses, 2 trees, and a shitload of elastic.
I would use the same system to actually launch trash into the sun as well.
Please see to it that my grave is kept clean. There's a lot of poor boys in the ground.
What happens when Earth's mass decreases from all the trash you sent to the sun and we get thrown out of whack in the orbit?
Oh, fuck that.
I don't like this argument at all.
Wait, that's dumb. What the hell? Wait.
I swear, I've been arguing about the reasons why you should throw trash into the sun since 4th grade, man, and people have been fighting me on it. They're like, what if we put all the trash in space?
Bro, it's right there. It's right there. It's right there.
They're saying, they literally told me, the response from these other kids was like, yeah, but what if we fill up space just like we filled up Earth? I was like, no.
Are you kidding?
No, it doesn't work like that.
Space is just
it's
a closet.
Called space for a fucking reason.
I know, Luke. I know your struggle's so
listen, and girls don't pee out of their butts. Also,
no.
Another popular one is your blood is blue until the air hits it. Also not true. Kids just make shit up.
Oh, yeah.
That shit.
Jesus Christ.
It's all wrong. Anyway.
milk comes from a brown
So
cow.
what? You think they're not?
Believe that shit.
Okay, so let me wait.
Well,
What? Say that again.
Your veins are blue though.
This is true. It ends there.
And if you cut it open, then it oxygenates and turns red.
It's just red. It's always red.
It's just dark purple.
Ugh.
So let me segue it back to launching things into the sun. If we all agreed on that, it would be what? Better, I assume. But then why don't we? Are the big corporate fat cats just like, I'm going to embrace my dark side on a level that's so astronomical. I just want to see the whole world burn. And I'm not saying don't embrace your dark side. I'm not saying you need to accept everything about yourself. If you're an asshole, fix it. But there are some reasons to be an asshole. I mean, that asshole exists to protect you from people who would be an asshole to you. And what would that be? Self-defense. So you need to embrace what that is in a way that you're able to not be so shocked when you pull the Tower card and you're wrong. Mm-hmm. The reason people freak out so much when they get broken up with or when something doesn't work out in a relationship is it because it shakes the past, the present, and you never thought that somebody would do something like that to you. So it shakes your future. It shakes across all three spectrums. And that doesn't just happen when something like that happens. When you're growing up and you find out that your blood isn't really blue until the oxygen hits it. That's a small version of that. That shakes knowledge that you had in the past. And maybe you would have told other people, oh yeah, your blood's blue. And then they're like, you're a fucking dumbass. So it shakes everything across those spectrums. And I know. So our dark side, go ahead.
No, you really want to continue.
Yeah. And so your dark side, I believe, is the part of you that keeps that part of you, the other half of you, safe. What is that? Your logic side is the part that needs to be kept safe by your natural side. Your lunar is protected by the sun and so on and so forth, or vice versa. But that's all.
That's an interesting way to think of it. Is our lower qualities or a protection for our higher qualities? I mean, I think the idea usually is that we have to come to know our lesser qualities, and then it always gets confusing. It's like, and then we quote unquote integrate them. Well, what does that mean? That sounds like a much more straightforward explanation. It's like you use them for the good or for your end goal.
Defensive purposes only, and to help people who are innocent.
Why would you do this?
Or to nuke Trevor because you hear him being a douchebag to his sister next door, and you know that it shouldn't happen. I mean, hey, hexes exist for a reason. I'm not saying don't hex somebody because they're being mean, but I'm not saying fucking bring down the heaviest curse you know just because you're having a bad day. And being able to know your actual power is the first step of that. Knowing how evil you can be, engaging that to something else and being like, okay, maybe I don't need to be that mean, or maybe I don't need to, self-control. It comes down to self-control. Yeah. Knowing your dark side helps with self-control.
Hexing people can be a great way to practice.
Let's talk a bit about hexing people. This is a discussion that we've wanted to have on the show for a while, but it just hasn't materialized. Frankly, I don't know how to feel about it. I recently had something happen to me that was very unfair, that made me feel like I was perfectly justified in fucking some shit up, and I don't know if just the whole situation made me so upset that I practiced self-destructive behavior on myself accidentally, or if it was a backfire from the energy I sent out, or if my psyche doesn't believe in hexes. But I'm wondering, how do you know what to hex, who to hex, when to hex, and how much hex to hex with? How much woodchuck could chuck wood, chuck woodchuck,
We'll see however much a woodchuck could chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood, but he can't. Because if he could, he'd chuck it all, and he knows that. That's the self-control.
I refuse to believe that song is not a sexual euphemism. I forgot but I forgot if it's for like sucking a dick or eating somebody out.
I mean, it's about a beaver, kind of.
Yeah, okay, all right. There you go. I think it's about sucking a dick.
Isn't everything?
I hope not. God, I hope not.
I just want to see what you'd say. I don't know.
Fucking degenerate.
Funny thing about sucking a dick, though, it's actually a perfect fucking segue into a note I have about mind control and how they used it to control us. Everybody talks about Freud, but we never really dip into, remember knowing your dark side and knowing parts of you that aren't really you, right? So a long time ago, Freud figured out that there are ways to fuck with people's heads. Great, whatever. His what was it? His brother? No, his cousin was his nephew. Bernays comes then to America and uses that in a way that is absolutely catastrophic. So here's what Bernays is known for. What do you think when you hear the word torches of freedom? Anyone?
Liberty.
All right.
And
Lucifer.
All right. Nice.
Hecate.
Mari, what you got?
Yeah, probably the Statue of Liberty.
one
All right.
time
So
in Alabama,
yeah.
I saw a miniature Statue of Liberty with an actual fire. That's what it reminds me of.
Oh.
It was a
It
lighter.
was next to a billboard that reminded people not to shake their babies.
She's like, free bird.
But look at all that look at all of that emotion tied to that phrase. You want to know what Bernays used that phrase to do? So in the past, there was this big taboo against women smoking. And so the smoking industry is like, we're losing half of our market. Why the fuck aren't women smoking? So they go to Bernays, and Bernays is like, okay, let me figure this shit out. And so he hires a psychoanalyst. The psychoanalyst says, and here's where we tie in sucking penises. And the
Dicks.
cigarette
Dicks.
exactly is a symbol of the penis and male, male
I'm
power,
familiar.
patriarchy, what have you. So what he did was he went out and he found some cute young debutantes who are going to be going to the Easter parade. And he said, on my cue, I'm going to get the papers to take a bunch of pictures of you and you're going to love it. All you need to do is, on my cue, light up some cigarettes. Got it? Good. Here's $100 or whatever he gave him. And he sent them on their merry way. And then he went to the newspapers. And he said, there are going to be some suffragettes and they're going to be in protest. And what they're going to do is light torches of freedom. So then you see this in the papers, right? And women are like, yeah, if I'm, free, if I'm liberty, if I'm independent, I should be able to smoke too. And then they made billions. And then the cigarette company made absolute billions.
That's awesome.
So that's how they can fuck with our heads. We are so easily hypnotized and so easily taken control of because they've got more studies on us than we can keep up. We have to be at least aware of what's going on and how they have that control. That's all. I just wanted to segue off of sucking dicks. Hey,
A good way to resist corporate mind control is by being a hipster or contrarian of some variety. Except you can't shop on
knowledge in all things.
I don't know. You can't buy shit either. You gotta wear a fig leaf.
So when are you allowed to curse somebody to death?
I was always
Or a bent back toenail? Like, what's the scale of power that you should be relegated to kind of bring it back to there?
That is only applicable by the person setting it, I believe, because everyone's magic is different. So knowing how powerful your hex is, it's a personal preference, I would want to say, if I wanted to give that freedom.
So let's say you're Anakin Skywalker. You're just force choking everybody, You get cut off in traffic, force choke, It's like, oh, you made my hot dog wrong, force choke. I mean,
I believe you could do that if you wanted to.
but you're gonna get. I don't really know. I don't know how karmic repercussions work in regard to cursing. Like, do you have to curse? Like, if you curse somebody with cold coffee, is it like the Buddha, where it's like holding a hot coal to throw it at somebody? It's like to give somebody else cold coffee for a day. You have to have cold coffee for a week. Is that how cursing works?
Oh.
I just want to know. Like, how does it work? What are the basics?
I love that one, actually. I have an answer for this question. So it's based on the type of curse that you're casting from that type of magic. I, myself, so in my practice, you get to choose a, major god and a major goddess. My goddess just so happens to be karma. So my magic, my curses are based off of karma and time. I myself, if I place a curse or if I place a hex, it is directly proportionate to the amount of feelings that were imposed upon me based on the weight that my goddess approves. So I don't really do anything. I just say, yo, think of it like cosmic snitching if you really want to. Like, if you really want to do a thing in my practice, it's essentially cosmic snitching. It's like, yo, tell this person's higher self that they were being a prick and they need to not be a prick. And then karma goes over to their higher self and dishes out the punishment appropriate. And the cool thing is, most of the time, I get to see it happen.
All right,
You
see,
know?
that seems to work for me in kind of the same way. But if I like write somebody's name on a piece of paper and I'm like, die, bitch, die, it never works out. You know what I mean? Like you have to like, I'm not going to say you in regard to everybody else, but at least for me, I have to do the cosmic snitching thing. I need to be like, hey, Lucifer, you remember? We're good friends, right? This person fucked me over and I'm going to try and feel better about it. I'm letting you know I'm mad right now. And then, that's how then stuff happens, right? I mean,
Yeah, well, I'd say that means that your relationship or your connection with that patron of your, Lucifer is pretty solid. That's why there are specific people you can call for specific things in a lot of different practices. And the more knowledge you have on those things, the more options you have.
Well, there are even ways there are even ways to get around having to call upon like the help of a deity. You could just target somebody with a very specific spell to their communication or what have you. Just like you could ask for a specific slip up. You could like the method of making a spell jar these days is popular as well. If you want somebody to leave you the
Yeah.
fuck alone, you can write their name on a piece of paper or whatever, put it in a jar, put it in the freezer.
My favorite one is if you want somebody to leave you alone, or if you want a particular item to disappear, what is it? You stuff a sigil, or you stuff that item. A lawful times it's a satchel with meat, and they write down exactly what it is. You go to a crossroads and you throw it there so that animals take it apart for you. It's nature's destruction.
I like that. I always thought about making a spell jar with gunpowder.
Ooh, that's fire magic. That's some fun stuff.
That's called a bomb.
It's also alchemy. if you have a method of making it set itself off, over time.
So then what then? Would you because there's also, we always talk about curses, and you mentioned earlier, of that cosmic backlash. Is there backlash to curses? I would say if you've overstepped your limits, there will be backlash. Yes, if you make a curse that is too strong for the situation that you are trying to, if you're trying to kill somebody because they cut you off in traffic, some shit's going to happen because that's too much weight in the ether. The ether, the universe, magic always seeks balance. That's why there are chaos mages, because there have to be for there to be a balance. So, are they in the ceiling now? This is why I was late. I feel like they're building an awning into the ceiling. Anywho, so that cosmic balance that comes in is the backlash on curses that you feel, or at least I believe. I don't know. What would you say?
All I know is that if I get really mad and I dedicate myself towards like a ritual cursing of somebody, it always backfires on me. But if I just try and take it, then it actually usually ends up worse for the other person, because it seems to be your theory of like seeking an equilibrium has some sort of bearing on how cursing works. At least in my life, it's been, there's some people who are just like, yeah, I curse somebody and it's like, bam, they're done. You know what I mean? I don't have any backlash. And it's just that's not really been my experience. I don't know. Has anyone else here cursed somebody and had backlash or not had backlash? I'm curious.
I generally do not have backlash.
All right, we got one for no backlash.
I haven't had any before when I've cursed people, but one time I wanted to like really hex someone and mess them up, and instead I sent good vibes, and that actually messed their life up. Like, yeah. I don't know, but like a year later, like they were in a bad situation. The relationship that like hurt me like was broken up and over with, and I was like, oh, whoops.
Dude, I hope all your dreams come true, even the nightmares, you bastard.
But
it's like some fucking Family Guy shit.
I like physically had to resist from resorting to those kinds of negative things, and I was rewarded for that. So I thought that was kind of neat.
Hey, and I would attribute that to that person themselves might have been, so it runs back to the whole universe seeks balance. You want to, if you've been attacked or if you feel negativity thrown at you and it's too much, if it's not something you deserved, then you have that negative energy in you. A lot of times curses aren't made of your own energy. They're made of energy that has been thrown at you. You are in that situation. If somebody made you angry, you're reacting. A curse is your action. A lot of I don't want to say every time you're reacting, but a lot of time you are. A lot of times, if you're just sitting there minding your own business and then somebody comes up, or if something happens, there is an action that happens to put you in that mood, regardless of how far back that action might go. What is that? For every action, every cause, God, I'm totally spacing on that hermetic principle, and it makes me sad. Luke, save me.
For every action, there's
Which
an
principle?
equal and opposite reaction. Although that's Newton. That's not.
Yeah, that's Newton.
What?
I got charts for days. Hold on. If you'll give me like 10 seconds, I'll bet I can find it. It's like cause and effect. That's what it is. It's like there's a cause probably for everything, regardless of how far back or regardless of what plane that cause existed on.
So
that's the hermetic belief.
Now, to bring karma into this discussion, it sounds a lot like karma is a blind force. Bad things that happen continue to be bad and keep moving on in the world. But as a magician, if something bad arrives at your doorstep, I suppose you have the opportunity to decide to keep the ball rolling or to like stop it or absorb some of that momentum yourself and change the sum total of energy. So it's like if you just choose to be an asshole because somebody was an asshole to you, all you've done is pass the baton. But if you decide, I'm going to be the bigger person, you can see how skeptical I am of this. I'm going to be the bigger person. You've kind of like stopped the wheel of karma in a sense, because now the bad thing doesn't get to go on. You know, you get to decide what happens from now on. So I guess that's like, that seems like a healthy way of looking at it, I guess. But I really just want to be able to curse people and not have any repercussions. It's possible that I just get really guilty and that the curses work, and then I just throw myself down the stairs because I feel bad. But then if that's the case, I got no business cursing people. We got to get off this topic because I'm just going to complain the whole time.
You're weak.
Go ahead, Dingus. Let me have
Hold
it.
on, he's not weak. Look, listen, Doge Coin is just at like what, 30 cents? Dogecoin is crashing. Everyone's kind of on edge. I get it.
The general emotional atmosphere can be judged pretty accurately by the price of Dogecoin. I'll say Doge if you want me to say it like Doge instead of Dogie, but okay.
Yeah,
Look,
say it the right way.
As long as we both know what you're saying.
I think Doge sounds better.
Me too.
Dogie is stupid. You're stupid.
You're stupid. Yeah, Dogie, like a dog. Dogie. Doge sounds like you're trying to be like French. No offense to our French listeners, which we have quite a few. Now, we did want to discuss magic for bunnies a little bit. We've discussed the idea that you should study. You shouldn't always just use your intuition. You can use your intuition. You should know what you're getting into when you curse. But what about something more basic, like the cycles of the moon? This is something that I think we could get into real quick, couldn't we, for the rest of the free show?
Yeah, of course. Cycles of the moon stuff. It just goes on with, time and knowing cosmic time, a time that is a little more broad than our own. And we've spent a whole bunch of time just getting to know this time. So we should know what other things we can use it for. And the cycles of the moon are a wonderful way of keeping track of when is the best time to use spells, curses, plant things, cleansing. And honestly, it can be one of your three. Like, I'll count it. I'll count it as one of your three. If I ask you on the street, if you say you're a witch and I ask you on the street a basic question about a cycle of the moon and you've listened to this podcast, you win. You get a complimentary witch badge. Congratulations. But
Witch
you need to know the cycles of the moon. You do. You gotta.
So from my experience working with the moon, there are some spells you need to do at certain times and the moon's in certain signs. Like if you're going to be doing Goetia, the moon has to be in a certain sign and it needs to be, you got to wear the loincloth. But for me personally, working with the moon, like week in and week out, it seems to be that if I do something on the new moon, it tends to like grow up and be bigger by the time the full moon comes around. Is there more salt we could throw on this meat and explain a little bit more? Get more in depth here?
Yeah. So the phase of the moon, the phase of the moon affects the height of the water and the water table. So if you plant like it was an actual thing, guess it still is, whatever. For much of human history, people would sow seeds on the day or night of a new moon because as as the moon transitioned to full, the water table would decrease and that or would shrink back down into the crust, so that would pull the roots of the plant down. That was rough. I couldn't. I almost failed to get that out.
Don't worry, you threw the ball at a perfect height. So what it is the neap tide and the spring tide. That's the what people forget is that the moon has a pull on the tides, but so does the sun, and they don't always pull in the same direction. What happens when the moon is full is the sun and the moon are aligned and the tides are pulling in the same direction and there's more water in certain spots and on and so forth. So that's probably where you were coming with after that goes into then gibbous or waning, the water is then back into the ground. But how that also applies to magic is when you sow something on the new moon, it's in your mind. It's symbolic. It corresponds to closing your eyes and forming something in your brain. Like we can all close our eyes right now and imagine a block of wood, some probably other wood, but a block of wood. So then when you get to the full moon or opening your eyes, the theory is that you should have come to a point where you have manifested that thing. If you've fed it enough, if you've given it enough love, if enough time, enough effort, you can manifest pretty much whatever you want. That's the point. Like chairs didn't exist. That came from somebody's mind. And maybe they thought about it on a new moon. And then by the time we got to the crescent moon, they had it drawn out on paper. And then what is that like? By the time we get to full moon, they have a chair.
A pretty chair.
Then you just need a bigger cozy.
Right? And then once you have the chair, you can start imagining things about the chair. And that's the growth of the thing. Wow. They killed our power. They drilled through something. Anywho, I'm still here though. Oh wait, no, it's back. Breaker must have saved us. This awning is whack, dog.
I was hoping you'd start to hear rats scurrying around and maybe something slithering up through a pipe.
Sorry, I got distracted by the sound of something slithering up a pipe. Witchy basic moon stuff was the topic. Mari, did you have anything for me?
What?
What?
Yeah.
On the topic, I meant.
On what topic?
The moon.
Witchy moon things. The moon.
Periods.
I remember when I was like a very little kid, I used to stare at the moon for like hours.
Oh, okay. Well,
there's water in your eyes, bro. It's pulling the water in your eyes.
Probably.
I don't know what I can say about it that you guys haven't already talked about. So,
when do you invoke and when do you banish?
Banish new moon, invoke full for 500.
Whoa, you broke up. Say that one more time, man.
Oh, banish full, invoke. No, banish new, invoke full for 500. And that's because the new moon is new. When you want to banish something, you're cleaning away the space. And then the new moon, you invoke something to come. And then by the time it comes back around to the new moon, you should have it.
So I've been doing it right, more or less.
Sounds like you've been getting, what is that? Not progress. I'm blanking on the word. Results. That's what it is. It sounds like you're getting results.
Yeah, I tend to get better results if I invoke on the new moon. And then, like you're saying, you want to banish on the full moon because then the moon's going to disappear, you know?
New moon banish, full moon invoke. Yeah, but it can go depending on your practice, depending on what alignment you are, be it chaos or Wiccan or Crystal Witch, or just know what it is in yours. In mine, it goes clockwise, I believe. And that also goes along with what side of the planet you're on, because it goes backwards, but they still uphold the same traditions in that version of witchcraft. What I have written in my own personal grimoire is new is for fresh starts, and then you would go to your crescent waxing, which is when you have wishes, you hope, you start dreaming, and you start realizing that thing is real. The first quarter moon is when you start taking action. It's when you start making dismissions. You start cutting away the things that you don't need from that particular, be it spell, be it that project, that idea. And then by the crescent, gibbous moon or your waxing moon, it's inward waxing. You have that realizing, that adjustment period where, okay, what mistakes have I made, or what is the best way to handle it now that I know the things that I need and the things that I don't need. And then by the full moon, we have that, that wealth that has been realized. Your wish has been realized, or your wish hasn't been realized. You realize that it was a fake wish. You didn't really want it. It was something planted by the government. And then you spend the rest of the moons getting rid of it and setting up for the next cycle.
Did you say planted by the government?
Yeah, sure. We'll go with that.
Oh.
Bernays, man. They didn't want to smoke. They just felt like they'd be more independent if they did. And then everyone went out and bought cigarettes. Look, we don't want things. We want connections. And that's all. You're gonna get me started again.
And if you'd like to hear us talk less about the cycles of the moon and more about Doge going to it, then please visit www.patreon.com/thewholerabbit, where for a mere $5 you can get all the extended episodes, 2 bonus stickers, and access to our Discord server, which grows larger and larger with more and more weirdos every week. And you can be one. Just go to the place I said and do the thing and the credit card and all that nonsense. And in case anybody wasn't aware, it's now time to eat carrots and shoot lasers.